So we need to find out apparently just how ill is His Majesty the King, King Charles III. These are the big lurid headlines now circulating around the globe. And as ever, we like to dig deep into this to let you know exactly where the headlines come from. And more importantly, what is the truth behind those headlines? Should we be concerned? And more importantly, what should we do next? As ever, let me explain. Morning, nice to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join me today. I don't know about you, when I see headlines like this, though, I do sort of think, oh, it's just so depressing. And it doesn't really matter who it is. It can be your family, friend, associates, people that are going through this terrible condition that we all get affected by at some point or another. You know, everybody somehow has all of these problems to deal with. And can you imagine if you are His Majesty the King and you see these headlines? Because I don't know if you know this, but all the national newspapers are delivered to the palaces every single day. They know the headlines that are there. Their communications team decide on what to react to and what not to react to, that sort of stuff, you know. And of course it's very damaging, isn't it? Because there you have His Majesty the King doing his very best to put out a public profile, you know, agreeing to certain trips later on in the year, turning up at church events. I'm sure it must take a lot of time and effort, particularly when you don't feel 100%. And for anybody out there, as I say, you know, seriously, good luck with it all, because it's very difficult even every day, isn't it, just trying to get through certain things, because you have good days and bad days, and people say, oh, it's all right for him, you know, he has the best medical attention. That's not about that, is it? It's about your own mental awareness. So these headlines literally came out around about 24 hours ago, and basically it's all about how the sort of preparations for a royal funeral would take place. And basically some of them are even going as far as to say that Prince Charles some of them are even going as far as to say that His Majesty the King is in fact far more ill than everybody realises. Now, let's just put this into perspective. I believe he's been as open and as honest as he personally wishes to be. It's a bit like Catherine, the Princess of Wales. People are desperately trying to find out situations around her. People don't have courtesy or manners. It's the bottom line is, really, it's up to the individual. King Charles has decided to go down a different route with his personal health issue, and you can understand that, you know, a high-profile man, possibly the most high-profile person in the world, he feels it necessary to communicate to individuals exactly where he's at in this journey. Now, the reason why they've come up with these headlines is simply this. Recently, again, there was another meeting, which happens more or less every 6 weeks, particularly when a monarch gets to a certain age. I know, very disturbing, isn't it? But it's all about the updating of who would they invite, certain things, is everything in agreement, you know, what would the operation be called, you know, that type of thing. So I would say to anybody watching or listening to these sort of stuff out there at the moment, don't be too dramatically alarmed, because, you know, as I say, this is an ongoing thing. This happened, of course, to our late and brilliant monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. And the reason why I'm giggling is apparently she found it quite amusing, because every so often they would come in for her to check these things, and she would say, don't worry, I'm still here. You can imagine her saying that, can't you? You know, but of course it's all part of the protocol. It happens to everybody in life. We call it a will, and of course our final estate, etc. But I do think it's very curlish of these people to keep printing this particular stuff when we know His Majesty the King is currently battling a disease, trying his very best to put his best foot forward out there and lead from the front. And let's not forget, you know, there's children involved also, and of course Queen Camilla. But for now, as ever, all I can tell you is what's been told to me from the palace. They're saying this is just nothing out of the ordinary and nobody should panic. I'll leave the rest up to you. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.